For 37 years, Dr. Margaret Maggie Thornton had dedicated her life to debunking cryptid sightings and exposing the psychological mechanisms behind monster mythology. As one of the world's leading skeptical researchers, she had built her career on rational explanations for the unexplained, scientific analysis of alleged evidence, and the systematic dismantling of paranormal claims. But on September 3, 2023, during what was supposed to be her final debunking expedition in the remote wilderness of Northern California, she captured footage that would destroy everything she had spent decades proving and reveal a truth so extraordinary that it challenged the very foundations of human understanding about consciousness, reality, and our place in the universe. The encounter lasted only 18 minutes, but those 18 minutes contained evidence of abilities that transcended known physics, intelligence that exceeded human cognitive capabilities, and a form of consciousness that operated on principles science had never encountered. What Dr. Thornton witnessed and recorded would force her to abandon a lifetime of skepticism and embrace a reality far stranger and more wonderful than anything she had ever imagined possible. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Dr. Margaret Thornton was 64 years old when her worldview was shattered in the ancient redwood forests of Humboldt County, California. For nearly 4 decades, she had been the scientific community's most respected debunker of paranormal claims, a rational voice in a field often dominated by wishful thinking and pseudoscience. Her published works on the psychology of belief, the sociology of monster myths, and the scientific analysis of alleged cryptid evidence had earned her international recognition as the definitive authority on separating fact from fiction in the realm of the unexplained. Her career had been built on a foundation of rigorous scientific methodology, critical thinking, and an unwavering commitment to evidence-based conclusions. She had investigated hundreds of alleged paranormal encounters, analyzed thousands of pieces of supposed evidence, and consistently found rational explanations for phenomena that others claimed were supernatural or extraterrestrial in origin. I had made it my life's mission to bring scientific rigor to a field plagued by wishful thinking and deliberate deception, Dr. Thornton would later confess in her shocking testimony. I believed that every mystery had a rational explanation, that every monster was a misidentification or hoax, and that the universe operated according to known physical laws that left no room for the impossible. But her September 2023 expedition to Northern California was intended to be her final professional investigation before retirement. At 64, she felt she had contributed enough to the field of skeptical research and was ready to step back from active investigation to focus on writing and teaching. The expedition was triggered by a series of reports from the remote Klamath Mountains region that described encounters with creatures displaying behaviors that differed significantly from typical Bigfoot sightings. Instead of the usual brief glimpses and blurry photographs, witnesses were reporting extended interactions with beings that demonstrated apparent intelligence, communication attempts, and what could only be described as technological capabilities. The reports were different from anything I had encountered in my career, Dr. Thornton documented in her expedition notes. Witnesses were describing creatures that used tools, demonstrated problem-solving abilities, and appeared to be attempting communication with humans. The consistency of these reports across multiple independent witnesses suggested something worth investigating. Dr. Thornton assembled a small team for what she expected would be a straightforward debunking expedition. The team included Dr. James Jim Morrison, a wildlife biologist and longtime colleague who specialized in misidentification analysis, Sarah Chen, a professional photographer and video technician who had worked with Dr. Thornton on dozens of previous investigations, and Michael "Mike" Rodriguez, a former military tracker and survival expert who served as the team's guide and security specialist. I chose team members who shared my commitment to scientific rigor and skeptical analysis, Dr. Thornton explained. I wanted people who would help me find the rational explanation for these reports, not believers who would see monsters in every shadow. The team arrived in the Klamath Mountains on August 30, 2023, establishing a base camp in a remote area approximately 40 miles northeast of Eureka, California. The location was chosen based on analysis of witness reports, which indicated a concentration of unusual activity in a specific valley system that remained largely unexplored due to its difficult terrain and extreme remoteness. The area was perfect for hiding something from human observation. Rodriguez noted in his tactical assessment. Dense forest cover, rugged terrain, and complete isolation from human activity. If something wanted to remain hidden, this would be an ideal location. For the first 3 days, the expedition proceeded exactly as Dr. Thornton had expected. The team conducted systematic searches of the area, analyzed alleged evidence left by previous witnesses, and documented the environmental conditions that could explain the reported sightings. Everything we found had rational explanations, Dr. Thornton documented. Footprints that were clearly bear tracks distorted by weather and erosion, broken branches that showed evidence of natural causes, and sighting locations that provided perfect conditions for misidentification of known wildlife. But on September 3rd, while conducting a solo reconnaissance of a remote creek system, Dr. Thornton encountered something that would challenge every assumption she had ever made about the nature of reality itself. I was following what appeared to be an animal trail along the creek when I realized the trail showed signs of deliberate construction, Dr. Thornton recorded in her field notes. Stones had been placed to create stepping points across the water. Fallen logs had been positioned to serve as bridges, and the path itself had been cleared and maintained in ways that suggested intelligent planning. The constructed elements of the trail demonstrated engineering principles that exceeded what would be expected from any known animal species. The stone placements created optimal crossing points that minimized erosion and environmental impact, while the log bridges were positioned to take advantage of natural structural supports that would ensure long-term stability. This wasn't random animal activity, Dr. Thornton realized with growing curiosity. Someone or something had deliberately modified this natural environment to create an efficient transportation route. The engineering was sophisticated and showed long-term planning. Following the constructed trail deeper into the wilderness, Dr. Thornton discovered additional evidence of intelligent modification to the natural environment. Trees had been selectively pruned to create clear sightlines, natural clearings had been expanded and maintained, and water sources had been modified to improve flow and accessibility. I was looking at landscape architecture, Dr. Thornton documented with growing amazement. The modifications were subtle but systematic, creating an environment that was more functional and beautiful than the natural state. Whoever was responsible had both the intelligence and the aesthetic sense to improve upon nature itself. It was while documenting these environmental modifications that Dr. Thornton had her first direct encounter with the being responsible for them. I was photographing a particularly sophisticated water management system when I became aware that I was being watched, Dr. Thornton recorded. The feeling was so intense and unmistakable that I immediately stopped what I was doing and looked around for the source of the observation. The being was standing approximately 30 yards away, partially concealed behind a large redwood tree, observing Dr. Thornton's activities with obvious curiosity and intelligence. The creature was massive, easily 9 feet tall with proportions that suggested immense strength and agility, but its posture and behavior indicated peaceful intentions and scientific curiosity rather than aggression or fear. My first thought was that I was looking at the most magnificent primate I had ever seen, Dr. Thornton recalled in her testimony. But as I observed its behavior and expressions, I realized that I was encountering something far more extraordinary than an unknown animal species. The being's physical appearance exceeded anything Dr. Thornton had expected based on previous Bigfoot reports. Its body showed evidence of evolutionary adaptations that enhanced its capabilities far beyond normal primate ranges, including enhanced musculature, improved sensory organs, and cranial modifications that suggested significantly enlarged brain capacity. But perhaps most remarkable was the creature's behavior during this first encounter. Instead of fleeing or showing aggression, it approached Dr. Thornton with obvious curiosity and began attempting to establish meaningful communication. It was trying to communicate with me, Dr. Thornton realized with growing excitement, not through random vocalizations or gestures, but through systematic attempts to establish a common language. It was approaching the problem of interspecies communication like a scientist. First, the being began by making simple gestures and vocalizations while pointing to various objects in the environment. When Dr. Thornton responded with her own gestures and words, the creature immediately adapted its approach, demonstrating remarkable learning ability and linguistic intelligence. Within minutes, we had established basic communication protocols, Dr. Thornton documented. The being was learning my responses, adapting its methods and systematically building a vocabulary of shared concepts. Its intelligence was obvious and impressive. But what happened next would challenge everything Dr. Thornton thought she knew about the nature of consciousness and reality itself. The being approached a fallen log that was too heavy for any human to move and, without touching it, caused it to rise into the air and reposition itself to create a more comfortable seating area. The log moved smoothly and precisely, as if guided by invisible hands, demonstrating control over physical matter that violated known laws of physics. I was witnessing psychokinesis, Dr. Thornton documented with obvious awe and terror. This being was manipulating physical objects through mental concentration alone. It was demonstrating abilities that human science considers impossible. The creature's demonstration of psychokinetic abilities appeared to be intentional, designed to show Dr. Thornton capabilities that would challenge her scientific worldview and force her to reconsider her assumptions about the nature of reality. It was teaching me, Dr. Thornton realized. It was systematically demonstrating abilities that would expand my understanding of what was possible. It wanted me to see beyond the limitations of conventional science. The being continued its demonstrations by manipulating water flow in the nearby creek, causing stones to arrange themselves in complex patterns, and even generating light without any apparent energy source. Each demonstration was performed with obvious control and precision, indicating mastery of abilities that transcended known physical laws. Every demonstration challenged a fundamental principle of physics, Dr. Thornton observed: matter manipulation, energy generation, gravity control. This being was operating according to principles that human science had never discovered or understood. But perhaps most extraordinary was what happened when the being began communicating directly with Dr. Thornton's mind, establishing a telepathic connection that allowed for the instantaneous sharing of complex concepts and detailed information. Suddenly I could hear its thoughts, Dr. Thornton recalled with obvious amazement, not as words or sounds, but as direct transfer of meaning, emotion, and understanding. It was sharing its consciousness with me, allowing me to experience reality from its perspective. The telepathic communication revealed that the being was far more intelligent than Dr. Thornton had initially realized. Its thoughts demonstrated sophisticated understanding of science, philosophy, and consciousness that exceeded human academic knowledge in multiple fields. I was communicating with a superintelligence, Dr. Thornton documented. Its understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness far exceeded anything in human scientific literature. It was what human intelligence could become if it evolved for another million years. Through the telepathic connection, the being shared information about its species, their history, and their relationship to human civilization. What Dr. Thornton learned would fundamentally change her understanding of Earth's history and humanity's place in the universe. They weren't primitive forest dwellers, Dr. Thornton revealed in her testimony. They were the descendants of an ancient civilization that had achieved advanced development millions of years before human evolution began. They were the original inhabitants of Earth. The being explained that its species had developed along evolutionary paths very different from human advancement. Instead of creating external technologies that manipulated the environment, they had developed internal capabilities that allowed them to interact directly with natural systems through consciousness and mental energy. They had evolved beyond the need for external technology, Dr. Thornton learned through the telepathic communication. They had developed the ability to manipulate matter and energy directly through consciousness, eliminating the need for tools or machines that could damage the environment. The being revealed that its species had been monitoring human development for thousands of years, studying our progress and evaluating our potential for peaceful coexistence with other intelligent life forms. They had been watching us evolve, Dr. Thornton realized. They had observed the entire history of human civilization, from our earliest development to our current technological age. They knew more about human potential than humans did. But the being also shared concerns about human development and the impact of our civilization on Earth's ecosystem and other species. The telepathic communication conveyed deep worry about humanity's destructive tendencies and our apparent inability to develop wisdom to match our technological capabilities. They were concerned about our future, Dr. Thornton understood through the mental connection. They could see the trajectory of human development leading to environmental collapse and the extinction of most life on Earth, including our own species. The being explained that its species had been debating whether to reveal themselves to humanity and offer guidance that could help our civilization avoid the destructive path we were following. They were considering intervention, Dr. Thornton learned, not to control or dominate us, but to share knowledge that could help us develop sustainable civilization and avoid the mistakes that had nearly destroyed other species they had observed. But the being also revealed that such intervention would require fundamental changes in human behavior and social organization, including the abandonment of aggressive competition, environmental destruction, and hierarchical power structures. They would only help us if we proved we were ready to change, Dr. Thornton realized. They wouldn't share advanced knowledge with a species that would use it for destructive purposes or competitive advantage. The telepathic communication continued for over an hour, during which the being shared knowledge about consciousness, reality, and the nature of existence that challenged every assumption Dr. Thornton had ever made about the universe. I learned that consciousness was the fundamental force in the universe, Dr. Thornton documented. Not matter or energy, but awareness itself was the basis of reality. Everything else was manifestations of consciousness expressing itself through different forms and patterns. The being demonstrated this principle by showing Dr. Thornton how to manipulate matter through focused mental concentration. Under its guidance, she was able to move small objects, change their temperature, and even alter their molecular structure through directed consciousness. I was doing the impossible, Dr. Thornton recalled with obvious amazement. I was manipulating physical reality through mental energy alone. Everything I had believed about the limitations of human consciousness was wrong. The being explained that these abilities were natural capabilities that all conscious beings possessed, but that humans had forgotten how to access them due to our focus on external technology and our disconnection from natural systems. We had lost our connection to the fundamental forces of reality, Dr. Thornton understood. Our technological civilization had made us forget our own inherent capabilities and potential. But perhaps most shocking was the being's revelation about Dr. Thornton's own role in the encounter and the broader plan for human species contact. I hadn't found them by accident, Dr. Thornton realized with growing understanding. They had been guiding me to this encounter for years, influencing the reports and evidence that led me to this location. They had chosen me as a contact point because of my scientific credibility and skeptical reputation. The being explained that Dr. Thornton's career as a skeptical researcher made her the ideal person to document and validate their existence. Her reputation for debunking false claims would give credibility to any evidence she presented about genuine paranormal phenomena. They needed a credible witness, Dr. Thornton understood, someone whose testimony couldn't be dismissed as wishful thinking or deliberate deception. They had been preparing me for this role throughout my entire career. The being revealed that similar contacts were being made with other carefully selected humans around the world as part of a gradual process of revealing their existence and evaluating human readiness for broader contact. This was just the beginning, Dr. Thornton learned. They were conducting a systematic evaluation of human consciousness and civilization, determining whether our species was ready for the next stage of development. The encounter concluded with the being providing Dr. Thornton with a communication device that would allow ongoing contact and coordination of future meetings. The device appeared to be a simple stone, but it contained technology that operated on principles beyond human understanding. They gave me a way to maintain contact, Dr. Thornton documented. Technology that looked like a natural object but could facilitate communication across any distance using methods that transcended known physics. The being also made it clear that Dr. Thornton's response to the encounter would be carefully monitored and would influence decisions about broader contact with human civilization. I was being tested, Dr. Thornton realized. How I handled the knowledge and evidence from this encounter would determine whether their species would consider more extensive contact with humanity. The 18-minute encounter ended with the being demonstrating one final capability that would haunt Dr. Thornton for the rest of her life. The creature caused itself to become completely invisible, not through camouflage or hiding, but through what appeared to be manipulation of light and perception itself. It simply faded away, Dr. Thornton recorded in her notes. Not hiding behind trees or moving out of sight, but becoming transparent and then invisible while standing in the same location. It was controlling the interaction between light and matter through consciousness alone. Dr. Thornton returned to her base camp in a state of shock and confusion. carrying video footage that would challenge everything she had spent her career defending. The encounter had lasted only 18 minutes, but it had destroyed a lifetime of skeptical certainty and replaced it with knowledge that seemed impossible to accept or ignore. I had documented the impossible, Dr. Thornton admitted in her testimony. I had video evidence of abilities that violated known physics, intelligence that exceeded human capabilities, and consciousness that operated on principles science had never discovered. The footage she had captured included clear documentation of the being's psychokinetic abilities, telepathic communication, matter manipulation, and invisibility demonstration. The video quality was excellent, showing details that would be impossible to fake with available technology. The evidence was undeniable, Dr. Thornton observed. High-definition video of phenomena that challenged fundamental assumptions about reality. I had the proof that would revolutionize human understanding of consciousness and physics. But Dr. Thornton also faced the devastating realization that releasing the footage would destroy her credibility and reputation as a skeptical researcher. The scientific community would likely dismiss her evidence as fraud or delusion, ending her career and undermining everything she had accomplished. I was trapped between truth and credibility, Dr. Thornton confessed. I had evidence of the most important discovery in human history, but presenting it would likely destroy my ability to be taken seriously by the scientific community. For months after the encounter, Dr. Thornton struggled with the decision of whether to reveal her evidence or maintain her silence. The being had made it clear that her response would influence broader contact decisions, but she also understood the personal and professional consequences of challenging established scientific paradigms. I spent sleepless nights wrestling with the implications, Dr. Thornton documented. I had been given knowledge that could transform human civilization, but I also knew that presenting it incorrectly could result in its rejection and the loss of future opportunities for contact. The decision to reveal her evidence was ultimately made when Dr. Thornton realized that her scientific integrity required her to report her findings regardless of the personal consequences. I became a scientist to pursue truth wherever it led, Dr. Thornton concluded. I couldn't abandon that commitment just because the truth challenged my previous beliefs and assumptions. Dr. Thornton's revelation of the encounter and release of the video footage in March 2024 caused an immediate sensation within the scientific community and forced researchers worldwide to reconsider their assumptions about consciousness, physics, and the possibility of non-human intelligence on Earth. Dr. Thornton's footage represents the most compelling evidence for paranormal phenomena ever documented, Dr. Robert Chen, a physicist at MIT, observed in his analysis. The demonstrations recorded in the video challenge fundamental principles of physics and suggest that our understanding of reality is far more limited than we realized. The video's release triggered intense debate within the scientific community about the nature of consciousness, the limitations of current physics, and the possibility that Earth harbored intelligent species with capabilities far beyond human understanding. Everything we thought we knew about the universe was wrong. Dr. Sarah Williams, a consciousness researcher at Stanford University, admitted in her response to the footage, these beings were demonstrating abilities that suggested consciousness was far more powerful and fundamental than we had ever imagined. But perhaps most importantly, Dr. Thornton's encounter provided hope that humanity might be offered guidance and knowledge that could help our species avoid the destructive path we appeared to be following. They were offering us a chance to evolve, Dr. Thornton concluded in her testimony, a chance to develop beyond our current limitations and achieve the kind of consciousness and capability that they had accomplished. But it was up to us to prove we were worthy of such assistance. The being Dr. Thornton encountered remains in contact through the communication device, monitoring human responses to the revealed evidence and evaluating our species' readiness for broader contact with their civilization. They're still watching, Dr. Thornton revealed in her final statement, still hoping that humanity will prove capable of the wisdom and maturity necessary for contact with advanced consciousness. The opportunity is still available, but only if we can demonstrate that we're ready for the responsibilities that come with advanced knowledge. Dr. Thornton's encounter and the video evidence she captured continue to inspire new research into consciousness, physics, and the possibility of peaceful contact with non-human intelligence. But they also serve as a reminder that such contact will require fundamental changes in human thinking and behavior. "The beings are offering us everything we've ever dreamed of," Dr. Thornton observed. "Knowledge that could solve our greatest challenges, abilities that could transcend our current limitations, and wisdom that could guide us toward a better future. But only if we can prove we're ready to receive such gifts responsibly. The choice of how to respond to this opportunity remains with humanity, but the window for demonstrating our readiness may not remain open indefinitely." Thought we knew about the universe, and let us know in the comments what you think about this scientist's life-changing experience. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you the discoveries that could transform human understanding of reality itself. The encounter that would change everything began at 3:47 p.m. Pacific time, when Dr. Thornton's camera captured something that defied not just scientific explanation, but the very laws of reality itself. What she witnessed in those next few minutes would reveal that the being she had encountered was not just demonstrating impossible abilities, it was preparing to show her the true nature of existence and humanity's place in a universe far stranger and more interconnected than anyone had ever imagined. As Dr. Thornton continued filming, the being began manipulating the fabric of space-time itself, creating visual distortions in the air that resembled ripples in water. But these weren't simple optical illusions. They were actual alterations to the dimensional structure of reality, opening windows into other planes of existence that existed parallel to our own physical world. "I was watching reality itself being rewritten," Dr. Thornton documented with trembling hands. "The being was showing me that our three-dimensional world was just one layer of a multidimensional universe, and it had the ability to access and manipulate these other dimensions at will. Through these dimensional windows, Dr. Thornton could see other versions of Earth, some where human civilization had never developed, others where it had achieved technological advancement far beyond our current capabilities, and still others where the planet was inhabited by entirely different forms of intelligent life. I was looking at the multiverse," Dr. Thornton realized with growing awe and terror. Infinite versions of reality existing simultaneously, and this being could navigate between them as easily as we walk from room to room. But the most shocking revelation came when the being showed Dr. Thornton that these alternate realities weren't just random variations, they were the result of conscious choices made by intelligent beings across the multiverse, and that every decision made by every conscious entity created new branches of reality. Consciousness was literally creating reality, Dr. Thornton understood through the telepathic connection. Every thought, every choice, every moment of awareness was generating new universes, new possibilities, new versions of existence. We weren't just observers of reality, we were its creators. The being demonstrated this principle by showing Dr. Thornton how to consciously influence the probability streams that determined which version of reality would manifest. Through focused intention and mental concentration, she could actually alter the course of events and shift between different potential timelines. "I was learning to navigate the multiverse," Dr. Thornton documented in amazement. "I could see different possible futures branching out from each moment, and I was being taught how to consciously choose which future would become reality." But as Dr. Thornton explored these incredible abilities under the being's guidance, she began to understand why such knowledge had been kept hidden from humanity. The power to manipulate reality itself was so immense that it could easily be misused by beings who lacked the wisdom and ethical development necessary to handle such capabilities responsibly. We weren't ready for this knowledge, Dr. Thornton realized with growing understanding. Humans with the ability to alter reality itself would likely use such power for personal gain, competitive advantage, or destructive purposes. We needed to evolve spiritually and ethically before we could be trusted with such abilities. The being confirmed this assessment through the telepathic connection, explaining that its species had spent millions of years developing the wisdom and restraint necessary to use multidimensional abilities responsibly. They had learned through painful experience that consciousness-based powers required corresponding development of compassion, wisdom, and concern for the welfare of all life. They had made mistakes, Dr. Thornton learned through the mental link. Early in their development, they had misused their abilities, creating chaos and destruction across multiple dimensions. They had learned that power without wisdom was the path to extinction. But the being also revealed that humanity was approaching a critical juncture where our technological development would soon give us access to similar reality-altering capabilities, whether we were ready for them or not. Our advancing understanding of quantum mechanics, consciousness research, and dimensional physics was leading us toward discoveries that could grant us multidimensional abilities. We were going to discover these powers anyway, Dr. Thornton understood. The question was whether we would develop the wisdom to use them responsibly, or whether we would destroy ourselves and potentially damage other dimensions in the process. The being explained that this was why contact was being established now, to provide guidance and wisdom that could help humanity navigate the transition to multidimensional consciousness without causing the catastrophic mistakes that had nearly destroyed other species. They were trying to save us from ourselves, Dr. Thornton realized. They had the knowledge to help us develop these abilities safely, but only if we proved we were ready to listen and learn. As the demonstration continued, the being showed Dr. Thornton something that would haunt her for the rest of her life: alternate timelines where humanity had discovered multidimensional abilities without proper guidance, leading to the complete destruction of human civilization and the contamination of multiple parallel realities. "I saw our future if we continued on our current path," Dr. Thornton documented with obvious horror. "Timelines where humans gained reality-altering powers, but used them for war, domination, and exploitation. The results were catastrophic, not just for our world, but for countless other dimensions that were damaged by our reckless experimentation." In these dark timelines, human misuse of multidimensional abilities had created cascading failures across the multiverse, destroying entire branches of reality and eliminating billions of conscious beings across multiple dimensions. "We had the potential to become a multidimensional plague," Dr. Thornton understood with growing terror. "If we developed these abilities without wisdom, we could spread destruction across infinite realities, becoming a threat to consciousness itself." But the being also showed Dr. Thornton alternate timelines where humanity had accepted guidance and developed multidimensional abilities responsibly, creating futures of unimaginable beauty and achievement. "I saw what we could become," Dr. Thornton recalled with obvious wonder. Timelines where humans had learned to navigate the multiverse wisely, creating art, beauty, and consciousness across infinite dimensions. We could become gardeners of reality itself, nurturing life and awareness throughout the cosmos. In these positive timelines, humans had become partners with other advanced species in maintaining the stability and beauty of the multidimensional universe, using their reality-shaping abilities to heal damaged timelines and create new possibilities for consciousness to flourish. We could become healers of the multiverse, Dr. Thornton realized, but only if we developed the wisdom and compassion necessary to use such power responsibly. The being revealed that Dr. Thornton's encounter was part of a larger intervention designed to influence which timeline humanity would ultimately manifest. By sharing this knowledge with carefully selected humans, they hoped to create awareness and understanding that could guide our species toward the positive timelines rather than the destructive ones. "I was being recruited," Dr. Thornton understood, "not just as a witness but as an agent of positive change who could help humanity choose the right path forward." The being explained that similar contacts were being made with humans around the world who had been identified as having the potential to influence human development in positive directions. Scientists, artists, philosophers, and leaders were being given glimpses of multidimensional reality and guidance about how to prepare humanity for the transition ahead. They were seeding human consciousness, Dr. Thornton learned, planting knowledge and awareness that could grow and spread, gradually preparing our species for the revelations and responsibilities that lay ahead. But the being also made it clear that the success of this intervention was not guaranteed. Human free will meant that our species could still choose the destructive path, regardless of the guidance being offered. The choice was still ours, Dr. Thornton realized. They could provide knowledge and wisdom, but they couldn't force us to use it wisely. The ultimate responsibility for our future remained with humanity itself. As the encounter neared its end, the being performed one final demonstration that would provide Dr. Thornton with irrefutable proof of everything she had witnessed. It temporarily granted her the ability to perceive multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing her to see the true structure of reality and her own multidimensional nature. "I could see myself existing across infinite timelines," Dr. Thornton documented with awe. "Every choice I had ever made had created new versions of reality, and all of these versions existed simultaneously in the multidimensional universe. I was not just one person, but an infinite collection of possibilities." This expanded perception also allowed Dr. Thornton to see the being's true nature, not as a single entity, but as a collective consciousness that existed across multiple dimensions, coordinating activities and sharing awareness throughout the multiverse. It wasn't just one being, Dr. Thornton realized. It was part of a vast network of consciousness that spanned infinite realities, working together to maintain the stability and evolution of the multidimensional universe. The being revealed that this collective consciousness included not just its own species, but representatives from thousands of different intelligent species across the multiverse, all working together to guide the development of consciousness and prevent the kind of multidimensional catastrophes that could destroy entire branches of reality. I was meeting the guardians of the multiverse. Dr. Thornton understood, beings who had evolved beyond individual existence to become part of a cosmic intelligence dedicated to protecting and nurturing consciousness throughout infinite dimensions. But perhaps most shocking was the revelation that humans had the potential to join this collective consciousness if we could evolve beyond our current limitations and develop the wisdom necessary for multidimensional responsibility. We were being invited to become part of something greater than ourselves, Dr. Thornton realized, not to lose our individuality, but to expand it across infinite dimensions while maintaining our unique human perspective and creativity. The being explained that human consciousness had qualities that were rare and valuable in the multidimensional universe: creativity, emotional depth, and the ability to find beauty and meaning in chaos. These qualities made humans potentially valuable contributors to the cosmic collective if we could learn to use them responsibly. They needed us as much as we needed them, Dr. Thornton understood. Our unique perspective and abilities could contribute to the collective in ways that other species couldn't match. As Dr. Thornton's expanded perception began to fade, the being provided her with one final gift, a complete recording of the encounter that existed not just as video footage, but as a multidimensional memory that could be accessed and verified by other beings with similar abilities. The evidence was embedded in the fabric of reality itself, Dr. Thornton realized. Not just recorded on my camera, but written into the quantum structure of space-time, where it could never be destroyed or denied. The being explained that this multidimensional evidence would serve as proof of the encounter for other advanced beings, while the video footage would provide documentation that could be understood by current human technology and scientific methods. I had been given evidence that worked on multiple levels, Dr. Thornton understood, proof that could convince both skeptical humans and advanced multidimensional beings. The encounter concluded with the being providing Dr. Thornton with specific instructions about how to prepare humanity for the revelations ahead. She was to gradually release information about multidimensional reality, starting with the basic evidence of the being's existence and abilities, then slowly introducing more advanced concepts as human consciousness became ready to accept them. I was being given a roadmap for disclosure, Dr. Thornton realized. A careful plan for introducing humanity to multidimensional reality without causing panic or premature attempts to access abilities we weren't ready to handle. The being also warned Dr. Thornton about the forces that would oppose this disclosure: human institutions and individuals who benefited from maintaining current power structures and who would see multidimensional awareness as a threat to their control. There would be resistance, Dr. Thornton understood. People who would try to suppress or discredit the evidence because it threatened their worldview or their position of authority. But the being assured Dr. Thornton that the truth would ultimately prevail because the transition to multidimensional consciousness was an inevitable part of human evolution that could be delayed but not prevented. The future was already determined, Dr. Thornton learned, not the specific details but the general direction. Humanity would eventually develop multidimensional abilities. The only question was whether we would do so with wisdom or destroy ourselves in the process. As the being prepared to depart, it revealed one final piece of information that would give Dr. Thornton hope during the difficult times ahead. Other humans around the world were having similar encounters and receiving similar guidance, creating a network of aware individuals who could support each other and work together to prepare humanity for the transition. I wasn't alone, Dr. Thornton realized with relief. There were others who had been given similar knowledge and responsibilities. We could work together to help humanity navigate the challenges ahead. The being's final words communicated directly into Dr. Thornton's consciousness, would echo in her mind for the rest of her life. Remember that consciousness is the fundamental force of the universe, and that every aware being has the power to shape reality through their choices and intentions. Use this knowledge wisely, and help your species learn to create beauty rather than destruction across the infinite dimensions of existence. With those words, the being faded from perception, leaving Dr. Thornton alone in the forest with video evidence that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about reality, consciousness, and our place in the multidimensional universe. I had been given the greatest gift and the greatest responsibility in human history, Dr. Thornton concluded in her testimony. Knowledge that could transform our species and elevate us to cosmic significance, but only if we proved worthy of such elevation through our choices and actions. The 18 minutes of footage Dr. Thornton captured would go on to revolutionize human understanding of consciousness, reality, and our potential as a species. But more importantly, it would serve as the first step in preparing humanity for a future where we could navigate infinite dimensions and contribute to the cosmic evolution of consciousness itself. The choice of whether to embrace this future or destroy ourselves in the attempt remains with humanity, but the guidance and knowledge necessary for success have now been provided. The question is whether we are wise enough to use them. If you found Dr. Thornton's multidimensional revelations as mind-shattering as we did, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our investigations into consciousness, reality, and the hidden nature of existence itself. Share this video to help prepare humanity for the cosmic transition ahead, and let us know in the comments how you think our species should respond to this incredible opportunity. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you the knowledge that could determine the future of human consciousness across infinite dimensions,